In this video guide, I'm going to go over some of the builds I've and the people of the Death Knight community have come up with. I'll go over builds such as both Breath of Sindragosa builds, otherwise known as BOS, one Frostscythe build, and two big crit two-handed build for Obliterate lovers, as well as some Unholy builds such as a Disease build for Mythic Plus, and then two different kind of pet builds. Also, logic behind these different kinds of builds, I'm going to say Blood DK for its own video later because it's still going under a lot of changes. Frost and Unholy are also changing a little bit, but their core design seems set in stone, so I don't really see them changing very much in the future, but beware, it is still early beta. Starting with Breath of Sindragosa Mythic Plus build, we're going to start off with the general tree. This tree here is what you're typically going to take in most situations. You're going to come down hard left and pick up all these talents highlighted, and then make your way to the right side of the tree. You're going to pick up Raised Dead, go through the left side, pick up Sacrificial Pact for the extra defensive, and to Brittle. This is why I don't go with Feebles, because you're not always going to have your pet up. You're really going to have it up for your breath, and also only reduces the damage you take from the target. In PvP, this is definitely going to be your go-to. Actually, in PvP, you probably would want both of these because the defensive is a defensive. But I'm going to go over some things I skipped, like Anti-Magic Barrier. It reduces the cooldown for 20 seconds and increases the amount it absorbs. I don't really see why I would need this on a 40-second cooldown. It's perfectly fine as a 1 minute. Then making our way down to AMZ, you want to pick up Improved Death Strike. You can also just pick one or the other. Between March of Darkness, which increases your initial death advance movement speed by 25% for 3 seconds. And then Death Strike, which reduces its cost by 10 and its healing by 60%. One's good defensively, one increases your mobility. As your DK, you kind of want both, but you can just sacrifice the defensive capability if you really feel like it to spend the point somewhere else. But typically, we're going to take March of Darkness. Go down AMZ, make sure you pick up Asphyxiate. And Wraithwalk, you want as much mobility as possible. We are no longer going to be able to go Night Fae. And DKs are struggling in mobility. We're lacking behind Paladins for sure at this point. Then you want to pick up Mind Freeze, Cold Thirst, which causes your successful interrupts to generate 10 runic power and reduces the cooldown of Mind Freeze by 3 seconds. You want to take up Blinding Sleep for Mythic Plus, Icebound Fortitude, and then the reduced cooldown of Icebound Fortitude, making it go from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. The additional crit chance as a Frost DK, you're going to really want this. Increases the amount of your absorbs, which applies to your anti-magic shell. I'm not 100% sure if it applies to your anti-magic zone. Then you want to pick up Renegatunshin. This was in the last expansion as a talent choice. Your all attacks have a chance to generate 5 runic power. Insidious Chill is something I haven't been able to really figure out. I'm not sure if it's going to be that useful. But if you really want it, just drop a point from Will of Necropolis and then put a point into Insidious Chill, and you'll be perfectly fine with just 1 point being in Will. Then you want to pick up Rune Master, get Aim Bomb, Icy Talents, and then pick up Empowered Rune Weapon. And then now going into the actual Mythic Plus BOS build. So far, the competition between BOS and Frostscythe and Mythic Plus is very strong. I haven't really done a Mythic Plus dungeon yet on testing both builds, but as I was testing on Dark Dummies, Frostscythe was doing more damage on 3 targets than BOS. But I'll check back in with y'all later. So starting off the build, you want to go a little bit to the left to pick up Obliterate and Killing Machine. Those are 2 musts. Those are part of your core gameplay. Then make a hard right. You want to pick up Howling Blast, Rhyme, Runic Command, which increases your runic power by 20. You overcap a lot as a Frost DK, so this is going to be very useful. Also increases the amount of ticks you get with your breath by 1, because Breath of Sindragosa drains 16 runic power per second. Then you want to go into Remorseless Winter, into Improved Rhyme, into Biting Cold, into Deal Streak, into Horn of Winter, Empowered Rune Weapon, Gathering Storm, Enduring Chill, Everfrost, Icebreaker, Invigorating Freeze, and Breath of Sindragosa. Then Avalanche, Frostworm's Fury, and Absolute Zero. And then you want to pick up these 4 in the middle. Pillar of Frost, Enduring Strength, which is a new one, increases your strength by 20% after Pillar has expired. Increases the duration of the effect by 2 seconds, depending on how many crits of Obliterate and Froststrike you've gotten during your Pillar. And then Ice Cap, which was a cap note. You had to choose between Obliteration and Ice Cap. They've changed it and made Ice Cap in the middle, so both builds can get this as they please. This is really going to help the two-handed build a lot because Pillar is its main CD. And then you want to pick up Frostwhelp's Aid. I think Frostwhelp's Aid is a little bit glitched. It's not doing enough damage. But Blizzard is probably going to fix that with tuning. You mainly pick it up for the 16% mastery it'll give you, or up to 40% mastery. Now going into the raid build, it's kind of up for debate whether you would go Soul Reaper in a single target situation, but majority of the times you are going to go Ambom Limb for that mass grip. It's just way too much utility to give up on. I'm pretty sure Acidious Shield does work on raid bosses. It works on the test dummy that's supposed to act like a raid boss. So I'm assuming it's going to work on actual raid bosses. So I think it's going to be pretty insane to have this. You can also take away Sacrificial Pact and get a Feeble. Feeble, I've already went over it. Reduces the enemy's movement speed and the damage they deal to you by 15%. That's the big kicker, the 15% DR. For 6 seconds, the proc rate is not amazing, but it's a very good defensive. But is it better than Sacrificial Pact, where it's a button you can press at any moment? It's up to you which one you feel better. One less button. I think typically I'm going to go Sacrificial Pact just to have that extra button. And if you really want to, for extra mobility, take 1 point out of Will of Necropolis, put it into March of Darkness, and you're perfect. And you can swap Ambom Limb out for Soul Reaper anytime there's just a pure single target fight. They also did nerf Unholy Bond by 13%. It was 33%. It also used to cost 3 points, now it only costs 2, making it less efficient. But moving on to the right side of the tree is the tree everyone really cares about. You're going to go a little bit further to the left and skip out some of the AoE things on the right for raid to pick up Rage of the Frozen Champion. Rage of the Frozen Champion with Ambom Limb is very smooth. The Rhyme procs generate 8 runic power and have a 50% chance of getting it from your Obliterate. But besides that, everything is relatively the same. You can get rid of Shattering Blade for say, and if you want improved Frost Strike, or you really do want Chill Streak for a specific situation, or even Remorseless Winter, or Everfrost, it's all up to you. Typically you're going to go Razor Ice in your second hand. This is going to make Frost Strike do a lot more damage. So this is mostly pure single target. Now going into Frostscythe, I was actually having a decent amount of fun playing Frostscythe back in BFA, but it was getting pretty old. It's much easier to play than BOS. It's a much simpler play style. The only problem I have with it was that you have to position your character well in order to get the maximum amount of damage out of Glacial Advance. But on the left side of the tree, you're pretty much going the same thing. You can sacrifice a point from Will of Necropolis, put it into Acidious Chill, make your way to the right of the tree, or right side of the screen. You want to pick up Obliterate, Killing Machine, Unleashed Frenzy, which just was a conduit in Shadowlands, and then pick up Glacial Advance. Glacial Advance has been changed. It used to have a 6.5 second cooldown, depending on your haste, of course. Now it has 0 cooldown and costs 30 runic power, and it still applies Razor Ice. I am glad they finally made this change. Frost really needed a spammable AoE spender. Glacial Advance isn't the best choice because it is kind of awkward to use, but I welcome it with open arms. I do love this ability. I love how it gives Razor Ice, applies Razor Ice to your target, so you can put Hysteria on your second weapon. allowing you to cap out more on runic power. And then you want to go a little bit to the right, make a hard turn. You want to pick up Howling Blast, Rhyme, Runic Command, Remorseless Winter, Frostscythe, Pillar of Frost, Frostwhelm's Aid, Ice Cap, Enduring Strength, and forget it. Let's just make sure Frostscythe do more damage for 8 seconds. You accumulate a charge, stacking up 5 times. And then you then spend those charges to do a bonus amount of frost damage when you use Frostscythe. You want to pick up Chill Streak, Biting Cold, Gathering Storm, Enduring Chill, Everfrost, the second charge of Ruin Weapon, Icebreaker, Avalanche, Dragon, and then the reduced CD on the Dragon. This is a single target two-hander build. This is typically going to be used in PvP. In Raid, I feel like BOS is still going to be a tad bit better than the two-hander build. I was testing the single target out on a target dummy. There was a lot of player mistakes I made, but the most I did with the Obliterate build, the most I did with the two-hander build single target on test dummies was around 35k, peaked at 40k, but most was, I think it peaked at 35k actually, I'm lying, but the breath build peaked at around 40k. So it all comes down to numbers and tuning, whether we're going to go Obliterate as Frost and Raid or not. But it seems like it's probably going to be the year of BOS once more. But the 200 build is still going to be preferred in PvP. You want to go pretty much just completely hard left. Pick up all these Pillar of Frost, Enduring Strength, Frost Reaper, which is the one I didn't choose on the other builds. Killing Machine now makes Obliterate do frost damage, making it scale with your mastery effect, which just increases your frost damage done. You want Frigid Executor, Murderous Efficiency. This was a talent. Mine of the Frozen Waste. I still don't understand why this is a talent. This should just be a baseline ability for Frost. The Assault ability, I went over this in the Frostscythe build. Bone Grinder. Consuming Killing Machine grants a 1% in critical strike chance for 10 seconds, stacking up 5 times. At 5 stacks, your next Killing Machine consumes the stacks. It grants you 20% increased frost damage for 10 seconds. This is pretty good for single target. Moving on. Cold-Blooded Rage. Froststrike has a 20% chance on critical strike to grant Killing Machine, and then Obliteration. When you activate Pillar of Frost, Froststrike, and Howling Blast also grant Killing Machine and have a 30% chance to generate a rune. This is the big rotational ability that makes Pillar very strong. Pillar for the 200 build is like their main bread and butter. Whenever you press Pillar, you're going to be doing insane crits. And now you're going to have Pillar more often because of Ice Cap. You want to go to the right and get 2 charges of Rune Weapon. You could probably skip out Frostwhelm's Aid and single target. You want to pick up Avalanche and Frostworm's Fury. And if you want the reduced CD, you could just pick it up just like this. There you go. Pick up Horn of Winter and this and pure single target. Yeah, I think this build is a bit tastier. Yeah, this is a better build. The only problem I've ever had with the two-handed build is the rotation gets very bland. You're kind of just pressing Obliterate, Frost Strike, and like Blast, but that's kind of what Frost has been for the last 10 years. And now the two-handed in AoE. This is, if you love the two-hander build, you don't want to ever touch Breath of Sindragosa. This is kind of just a two-hander build with Frost Strike or Frostscythe. You're still going to make a hard left, and now you're going to be using Frostscythe opposed to using Obliterate and I think a +3 targets. You're going to be preferred to use Frostscythe. And then, of course, Glacial Advanced. You want to pick up Remorseless Winter. You actually do want Frostwhelm's Aid. Try to see if you can drop something for improved Rhyme, because Rhyme, Howling Blast is actually doing a lot of damage. No, I don't think there's really anything you can drop. You're mostly just going to be spamming Frostscythe, the Glacial Advanced, opposed to spamming Obliterate and Frost Strike. It's very simple, very easy build. Now that concludes the Frost talents. The left side of the tree is pretty much the same as the previous trees. So we're just going to skip that and head straight to the right side of the tree, where you'll be going down to the left. You pick up Scourge Strike, Outbreak, Unholy Blight, and Epidemic. It's like 4 abilities in a row. Replenishing wounds into Bursting Swords, which is a major ability for Mythic Plus. Pestilent Pustules, Bursting a Festering Wound has a 10% chance to grant you Runic Corruption. Unholy Command reduces the cooldown Dark Transformation for 45 seconds. It helps line it up with Apocalypse, which was reduced by 45 seconds by Army of the Damned, and an additional 5 seconds from whenever you use Epidemic or Death Coil. And you also reduce the cooldown of Dark Transformation by 1 second whenever you use Death Coil or Epidemic. Then you want to get Raised Dead. Oh, this, okay, never mind. Dark Transformation into Affected Claws, Sudden Doom, Unholy Pact, Plaguebringer, which makes your diseases damage to occur 100% more quickly for 5 seconds. Very good. Then you want Unholy Pact, Improved Death Coil, Coil of Devastation. Death Coil causes the target to take additional 30% of direct damage dealt over 4 seconds. This is really insane in PvP. That's a lot of increases damage, but in Mythic Plus, it's really good for boss fights. Then you want to make your way down here to get Super Strain, Death Pact, which synergizes with Sudden Doom, and then Festermite. So this build, essentially, you're just generating an insane amount of runic power and spending it all on Epidemic, and making sure you're keeping up with your diseases. Having a high upkeep on Dark Transformation and Army of the Apocalypse. So this is pretty much a high upkeep build. You just focus on your diseases, and then let your pets do the rest. Now this Unholy build is a mostly PvP build I've come up with. So the left side of the tree is mostly the same with the other tree, except you want to get a Feeble, so you drop a point from Will, they get a Feeble, and then you don't get Runic Attunement because you just don't auto-attack all that often. You still want the bonus absorbs, and you want to go a little bit into the left side of the tree. You want to get all the CC possible and all the defenses you can get, but we're going to go into the right side of the tree. So pretty much you're just going to be a hard rider right now. You know, with Festering Strike, you want to bring it down to the middle, get approved Festering Strike. Feasting Strikes, whenever your Festering Strike has a chance to refund 1 rune pretty much. Dark Transformations cooldowns reduced by 15 seconds. Eternal Agony, and then you definitely want Death Rot. For this build, you want to get Mages of the Dead, the Horror Frostbolts and whatnot at your enemies. Apocalypse, Army of the Dead. The only reason why you really go Army of the Dead is just to get Army of the Damned, a lower CD. And then you want to get Super Strain, so you can always have 3 dots on your enemies. Summon Gargoyle, Unholy Aura, and Commander of the Dead. You want to be hard middle right here. You also want to get Clawing Shadows for the ranged Scourge Strike. And then Rotten Touch. Your next Sudden Doom causes your next Death Coil to also increase your Clawing Shadows damage against the target by 50% for 6 seconds. That is pretty good. And then Harbinger of Doom. Sudden Doom can now accumulate 2 charges. Unholy Pact is really good and all will survive. With this kind of build, you really don't have to stay in melee like that. You're kind of like playing a melee Affliction Warlock at this point. / Demo Warlock, because you're going to have a lot of minions still. So I feel like this build is probably going to be the best for PvP. And then my PvP talents are going to be Necrotic Oil, Strangulate, and Necrotic Runes. You could probably change Necrotic Ore for Necromancer's Bargain. Alright, and this last build is a purely raid build for maximum damage output / utility. So in some cases, your raid leader is not going to want you to take Soul Reaper. He's going to want you to take Ambon Limb, because certain mechanics can be avoided with Ambon Limb or whatever the case may be. But if it's just a pure damage fight, you don't really have to worry about nothing. And if it's just purely single target, go Soul Reaper. It's all depending on the situation in the boss fight itself. going into the right side of the tree. It's pretty much it's really similar to the last tree, the PvP tree. You want to make a hard left and just keep going straight down all the way down to Death Rot. Then you want to pick up Ghoulish Frenzy. Also want to go down to the right side of the tree and pick up all these. This is just kind of a build I made up. I've always played either Blood or Frost in raids. I never played Unholy, but I'm assuming this would be the best for the maximum output. So, and pay attention and pay mind to the fact that you want to use Summon Gargoyle last, or I mean before Dark Transformation last in your rotation when you're using all of your abilities, because it will buff your Gargoyle and Army of the Dead minions by 35% for 30 seconds. So this is kind of just like a pet damage build. The little bit of Festering Rune stuff. Alright guys, that's the end of the talent guide. I will be having a rotation guide coming out very soon. So subscribe and turn on notifications for that. Like the stream, it helps me out a lot. A lot of Mythic Plus streams coming in soon. I'm going to be posting all the different kinds of Mythic Plus dungeons. I'm also going to be streaming a lot within the next couple of weeks. I got some goals in mind. I appreciate anyone who's subscribed already, anyone who's already liked the video. I fuck with y'all the most. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.